Gold Patrollers, Jeff Gold for the Gold Patrol. We have a special update for you. I'm here with Tara Kelley. Hello, Tara.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Tara was actually on the first Jodi Arias jury. She was an alternate and didn't get to decide the case. Now she's here as a Travis Alexander supporter. I am so interested to talk to you, Tara. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How does it feel, first of all, having been on the first Jodi Arias jury and now being here today on this verdict watch?
It's very hard. I had anxiety as far as coming here the first day, being back on floor 5, just even walking in the courthouse. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of memories that come back, so going back to the courthouse and then going back to the courtroom yesterday, it's a lot to take in.
And this time, you're actually sitting with the family, the victim's family. Now, we're not going to talk too much about them. Hopefully, they're going to come on with us and they can talk for themselves. But how is it now, being, instead of in the role of a juror, being in the role of a victim supporter?
I think it's even harder to be on this spectrum and just the emotion. It's a different type of emotion. So I think it's a lot harder, and the waiting game's a lot harder as well.
Now, have you been following the second trial? I know you haven't been here for the retrial, but have you been following it?
Not as much.
Okay.
It being on Twitter, it's kind of hard to follow.
So
sometimes.
let me pose this to you. Having heard the entirety of the first case, it's my opinion that in the second case, they just didn't hear enough about what happened to Travis on that day. They didn't hear enough about the murder. If you were in the position of this jury, and you had heard all this mitigation, which they've heard much more than you did.
Right.
And not much about the brutality of the murder. Do you think that the vote would be different?
Well, they may not have heard as much, but they've seen the same pictures, and I think seeing those pictures speak for itself.
Well, that's very important, because did you know that they have all the exhibits from the trial in there with them?
I did not.
Okay. So those were the pictures, the thing that stayed with you today?
They do. I still have nightmares from it. It's just stuff that's not going to go away. It's hard to think that somebody could do something so horrible.
Having heard the whole first trial and knowing we're here again, I believe you would have voted for death. Is that right?
Yes.
Would you still do that today?
Yes.
After all this time, any thoughts, second thoughts about how you would have voted?
No, it just makes my thoughts stronger on why I would have voted.
Okay. What do you think the strongest piece of evidence was that would convince you as a juror that Jodi Arias should die?
There's not one certain piece. I think everything, the premeditation of, stealing the gun and planning the trip and then lying and covering up everything after. There's so much that I think that points to death.
And yet this jury just didn't hear that much of the planning, premeditation, and then the cover-up. Do you think that if they didn't get that information, they may not be able to find death?
I think it's hard either way. For me, it's an easy verdict of death, but for some, it's harder, and it just, it's not very fair that it has to be unanimous, that it just, can take one or two people, but that's the, justice that we live in right now.
Now, tell us, have you been in the courtroom this week?
Yes, since Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So you saw the jury at least yesterday?
Yes,
right?
yes.
Any thoughts on what you saw?
Well, my first take on the jury was I think Monday night when they came out for that late 4:30 break, and they seemed very stressed, very like at ends with each other maybe. I don't know, but it's weird to see a whole different jury basically in the place of where we were.
That's right. And different juries do different things.
Right.
And of course, this jury is not just a different jury hearing the same evidence, which is true, by the way.
Right.
Different juries hearing exactly the same case can do different things.
Exactly.
But this jury has heard a very different case. One of mitigation where Jodi Arias has been portrayed as, I'd like to say, poor Jodi.
Right.
Poor Travis is dead, mutilated, butchered, but yet we've heard a mitigation trial that rightfully is about the sentencing of a defendant, but still about poor Jodi. The entire defense has been the psychological makeup of Travis and of Jodi.
Right.
And what I've bemoaned is how the defense has been able to time and time again re-bloody Travis, re-slaughter Travis. And to some degree, I agree as an analyst, that's right that they should be able to say what they want, but over and over and over again.
Right.
I think as a supporter of the victim in this case, it's got to hurt you that that's happening. Do you think that that this was different than the first trial? That you didn't get as much of that in the first trial?
I don't know, because I haven't followed much, but from what I've heard, Nermi has definitely taken on different tactics this time. Just as disgusting as the first time, but maybe took some lessons from Juan as far as trying to be strong and, you know, voice loud and all that stuff. But I don't think it matters because the evidence still points to the horrible crime.
Let me ask you one last question about being a juror.
Okay.
I'm going to let Kathy's going to come in and ask you some more questions too.
Okay.
But for me, I think the viewers would like to know, as a juror, number one, how difficult is it in a long trial like this to make friends, chat with other jurors, know about their family and friends, everything else, and be able to speak about anything in the world except what you've done for 6 or 7 hours that day?
It's really hard, and I think that's what people don't understand is you do form these bonds. We were together for almost 6 months. We know about each other's families. We know all this different stuff, and it is very hard. And for the fact that the alternates, when the deliberating jurors were deliberating, we still couldn't talk about it. So we were the very last people on this earth to be able to talk about the trial. And so it's really hard, and I think that's just something that people don't understand. You know, we try to go back to our normal lives, but when something like this for 6 months takes your life, it's really hard to try to move on.
And here you are, back.
Here I am.
Back again. All right, Kathy, what do you have for Tara here?
Okay, Tara, thank you for doing this. I have a few questions for you about, I know you, as a juror, you don't make a decision or form an opinion until the end.
Right.
But you're a human being. So, were you beginning to form opinions during the trial or leaning any way at all during the trial?
Well, no matter what, you have to keep an open mind. So you're there to hear all the evidence and see all the evidence. And so I wouldn't say that you form an opinion. You may start to have thoughts about how the process happened, but you can't really form an opinion. You have to keep an open mind throughout the whole trial, no matter what.
So, what was your opinion of Jodi on the stand for 18 days? Because that's what the people watching this are going to want to know, at least the people on Twitter.
Well, you know, I did ask her over 100 questions, so it was way too long. She shouldn't have been on the stand that long, maybe 2 days, 3 days. It was exhausting, but the thing was, I think that a lot of that sealed her fate. She just kept tripping over herself. Juan kept making her trip over herself. So I think that in the end, it really cost her.
Okay, so now to Travis and the family. What makes you, as a stranger, a juror, what makes you become bonded to this case? We have 12 jurors up there in the room who are, what we think, not emotionally attached and are trying to just make this decision, and yet you became so close and so bonded that after the first trial, you were with Travis's sisters and family, and you were handing out the packets to the homeless in the park, and you've done things with this family and stayed very close. What makes you do that as someone who sat on a jury in the murder trial?
Well, that's again another difference. Watching it on TV is nothing like being in the courtroom and then being on the jury and being part of it. You do get invested in, you know, everything that's going on, and just, you know, seeing what happened to Travis, I was emotionally invested. And so when it was over and, you know, we got in touch, and they are amazing people, and I'm very thankful to have them in my life.
So what I've heard you touch on more than once is what you saw happen to Travis. So you think those pictures, those autopsy pictures, are what is happening and affecting those jurors the most? And do you think it's the female jurors that's affecting the most, or do you think that matters?
You know, I don't know so much that it matters. Obviously, women tend to be a little bit more emotional, but when you see those pictures, whether you're male or female, I don't know how you could not be emotional. There's no telling what's going on up there. Like, there really is no telling. You know, maybe they're close. Let's hope that they are. But, you know, there's, you know, no reason to speculate because we have no idea, and we'll drive ourselves crazy.
Well, thank you, Tara. I know you're here supporting the family, and thank you for taking time with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, again, thank you for the Gold Patrol, Tara. I know you got to get back in there and hang with the family and send our regards to them. Our prayers are with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Gold for the Gold Patrol.